Welcome back. This is Kevin Johnson of Leverage Consulting, and this is yet another episode of the Resilient Entrepreneur Podcast. And I believe this one is one where you could go back and reevaluate, take a deep look at some of your day-to-day interactions, some of your day-to-day thoughts, and really take a deep dive on what's going on around you, your world, and even what you're doing that is having an influence, and sometimes not a great influence, on your future success. I'm sure you have heard the phrase, change your language, change your life. And this is one where sometimes we have to take a step back, even ask for feedback on how we're perceived, how others look at us, and even how some of what we say on a day-to-day basis is programming what we do and how we feel on a day-to-day basis. It happens in how you work with your team. It happens in how you work with your family. It happens in just how you program yourself and your future success. And the reason I'm doing this podcast is not that long ago, I was buying a greeting card for my wife. And interestingly enough, this is something that I have always really thought about when I go to a Hallmark or I'm in the grocery store and I'm picking out a greeting card, or, it's an anniversary card, a Valentine's Day card, something. And if you really sit back and read some of these greeting cards, look at the language in them. And so many of them are, if you really boil down what the greeting card is saying, a lot of them, and I mean a lot of them, basically state, I'm sorry. Well, I don't know about you, but when I'm talking to my wife and I'm talking about Valentine's Day and why I love you, the last thing I want to do is say, I'm sorry. One of the things that you'll also see in some of these cards are, they're apologetic. Well, it's another version, I'm sorry, but they're essentially apologetic for the way things are. And I think when you really sit back and start looking at the theme within some of these cards, again, a lot of it really in some respect is negativity. What should we be getting from a greeting card? It should be uplifting. It should be positive. It should be something that makes someone smile. And when you go back and start thinking about changing your language and changing your future, when you are thinking and programming yourself and communicating, I am sorry, and negativity and being apologetic, that's not the kind of thing that's going to have a positive effect on your future success. Next time you're in the grocery store, pick up 10 cards and just start combing through the cards and look at the language in these cards again. And think of these couple of things when you read the card. Would you say the overall message within the card is uplifting? Would you say the overall message in the card is going to make someone smile? Is the overall message in it actually communicating something overly positive the whole way through the card? I'm going to bet you that's not the case. And it's funny, when I search for cards, I may go through 10 cards, but sometimes I can find one right out of the gate, and that's it. I know it's the one. And it's based on the criteria that I just gave you. So when you think about how you communicate throughout the day, when you think about how you write an email, when you think about how you communicate at home with your family or communicate with your team, think seriously about the 3 things that I just gave you. It really doesn't take a rocket scientist in today's world to identify what's wrong, why things are not the way they should be, and so on. Pretty much anybody can do that. I can take my 9-year-old nephew, and he can pretty much point out what needs to be better or different, or why something isn't perfect. He can do that. He's a smart kid. So, as adults, what if we concentrated on positivity? And how can we be positive? We can be positive by, rather than pointing out the obvious of what's wrong, how about we point out what we can do to make it better? How about even that positivity? So maybe it's something I can't fix, they can't fix, and we can come up with a lot of reasons for what it is. Meaning, if somebody's already been in a car accident today, and let's fingers crossed everybody came out safe and sound, and they didn't have to go to the hospital or anything like that, but they wrecked their car. Okay, there's nothing I can do about it. There's nothing they can do about it. It's history. But what I can do is offer them some sense of positivity. What I can do is offer them the name of somebody who I know that does amazing work fixing cars. I might be able to put them in touch with someone who knows how to get the car fixed for less money. Those are the kinds of things that are positive and uplifting and solutions oriented. So when you also think about your team, what we're also looking to do sometimes is curb their language. Because when you were talking about a team, let's just say you have a team of 10. Sometimes it only takes one. And we've all heard stories or heard the saying about the one rotten apple ruins the whole bushel. Sometimes all it takes is one. And I've seen teams that stop doing morning meetings, which should be the most important meeting or most important thing you do of the entire day. But I've seen them stop doing these meetings all because of one team member who doesn't want to do it. Or one team member who looks at the schedule for the day and then says, this looks terrible. Or I don't want to work with this person or this patient. And they come up with other negative things and it kills the mood, it kills the morale. Well, if you set a standard, if you set the bar really high for your business and your practice, how would we tolerate that language? So it comes to you, and when I say you might be a fellow team member, a peer, or you might be a manager or an owner, essentially a leader, and you can be, no matter what position you are in that practice or that business, you can be a leader. You may not have the title, but you can be a leader. So ways that we can get them to change their language, it depends on how it's delivered. But essentially it can be, do you mind rephrasing that in a way that's positive? And when you do that, you're saying to them, essentially, I don't want to hear the negativity. I don't want to hear this. And when you do it in a group setting, you're also letting the rest of the team know, and you can do this with a smile on your face. Communication is let's take a sidestep for a minute. Communication is a multifaceted tool, or it's a multifaceted way to get your point across to someone. And you have what you said, maybe what you wrote, how you said it, which is the use of your voice, and also your body language. So if you said to someone, peering through your eyebrows and looking annoyed, can you state that positively? It probably isn't going to be taken very well. And the rest of the team is probably going to have this woo kind of mentality. But imagine if we said it to them and we smiled and said, hey, tomorrow, try this differently. I'd really love for you to restate that in a positive way. So if you see something on the schedule, how about you restate it in a way that we can actually do something with it? State it in a way to where we can take something and do something about it so our day improves, which again is the whole point of this morning meeting. But I'd really love for you to restate that in a way that we can actually do something with it and get a positive outcome. So you do that with a smile on your face, which should be perceived differently. So going back to my whole point about changing your language, when I say I mean yours individually, but I also mean your team. Change your language, and I guarantee you it's going to change the success for yourself, and it's going to change the success of your team, your practice. And think about how this is going to play out with your patients, your customers, and so on. Really think about that hard. And I, as I said earlier, I challenge you to go to the grocery store, or when you're in the grocery store next time, go through the greeting card aisle and pick up 10 cards at random. And you'll see what I meant about that. And you'll start to hopefully see in day-to-day interactions with other folks, whether it's written or whether it's said, you'll start to see where we need more positivity and we need more solutions. I guarantee you it's going to have a positive effect on your future.